At the exact moment, Alonzo Mourning became one of the most feared players in basketball.
Mourning for the win!
His body started shutting down. Doctors told him his career was over. Then, they told him something worse.
I got a call from the chief of medicine saying that somebody who had just won a gold medal in the Olympics had a kidney disease.
They told him he might not survive, but here's what nobody tells you about Alonzo Mourning. By the time that doctor delivered that news, Zoe had already spent his entire life fighting just to exist. Welcome back to Crossover Fadeaway. Today we're going deep on a legend that this generation has almost completely forgotten. And that's a problem. Because when people talk about Alonzo Mourning, they talk about the scream, the blocked shots, the Knicks fights, the gladiator intensity that made him look like he was personally offended by every single play. But behind all of that rage was a kid who grew up in chaos, a kid who bounced between unstable homes.
Challenges that I was dealing with at that particular time, broken home, mother and father divorced, I ended up falling in the hands of the social service system and stayed in a group home for a year.
A kid who learned, before he ever touched a basketball, that nothing in life comes guaranteed. And maybe, that's exactly why nobody in NBA history ever played with more desperation than Alonzo Mourning. This is his story, and I promise you, it goes way deeper than the highlights. Chesapeake, Virginia, 1970. Alonzo Harding Mourning Jr. is born into a working-class family. His father works the shipyards. His mother is doing everything she can, but behind closed doors, the home is falling apart.
A lot of times you just rebel to respond to any type of those circumstances. And that's what I did. There was a lot of rebellion there. And when you had problems with me, and then there was counseling and therapy and all of that stuff.
By the time Zoe is 11, his parents' marriage collapses. And what happens next isn't something most people know. Most kids in that situation get told where they're going to live. Alonzo Mourning told the adults himself. During a counseling session at the Department of Social Services, with both of his parents sitting in that room, this 11-year-old boy looked up and asked to be placed in a group home. Not because his parents were monsters, because he loved them both too much to choose between them. And the pain of that impossible choice was breaking him.
And my gut was that I didn't want to be a part of any of that. Man, I love my family dearly, and so I stayed in the foster care system for a while.
In the group home, Zoe sees things. Real pain, real problems, kids who've been through things no child should ever experience. It doesn't make him want to go back home, but it does make him realize something. He can't stay here either. He needs someone who actually sees him. And then, almost like it was written, he finds her. Her name is Fannie Threet, a retired school teacher, a woman of deep faith, a woman whose home on Oliver Avenue in Chesapeake, Virginia, was known throughout the neighborhood as something close to holy ground. Because over the course of her life, Fannie Threet gave a home to 49 children who had nowhere else to go. 49. And Alonzo Mourning, tall, broken, guarded, and lost, was one of them.
I came in the house and I saw Alonzo with my mom. She was holding him in her arms, and she was caressing him and making him feel comfortable and at ease.
One thing I liked about him, he just loved me. I don't know how in the world he loved me so.
Within a week of moving in, he stopped calling her Mrs. Threet. He started calling her Mom.
With the biggest of hearts, she loved us unconditionally. A retired school teacher and a woman of great spiritual conviction, she taught both the importance of education and faith.
Mrs. Threet didn't just give Zoe a roof, she gave him structure. She gave him faith. She made sure he did his homework. She stayed on him about his grades. She believed in him before he believed in himself. And somewhere in that 4-bedroom house, on a bedroom wall, hung a poster. Patrick Ewing, number 33, Georgetown University. because Zoe already knew where he wanted to go. He already knew what he wanted to become. By senior year, at Indian River High School, Alonzo Mourning is averaging 25 points, 15 rebounds, and 12 blocks per game, a triple-double in blocks per game. The recruiting letters are coming from everywhere, but Alonzo already knows the answer. And here's what you need to understand before we get to Georgetown, before the NBA, before any of it. Everything Alonzo built on that basketball court started in that house on Oliver Avenue. Every blocked shot, every championship, every act of giving back after he retired. It all traces back to a woman named Fannie Threet. Don't lose that thread. We're coming back to it.
He said, I'm not going to promise him anything, but I do know that he's going to get an education. I'm not going to promise you that he's going to start, that he's going to get this or that, all of these accolades. He's got to work for that, but I do know that he's going to go to class and he's going to get his education. So that pretty much put Miss Threet over the top and say, hey, you're going to Georgetown. So.
Georgetown basketball in the late 1980s was not soft. It was not flashy. It was not fun. It was war. Under legendary head coach John Thompson, players were pushed mentally and physically beyond what they thought they were capable of. Accountability was not optional. Excellence was the floor, not the ceiling. And for a kid who grew up fighting for stability, it was the perfect environment.
I knew that he was a kid that definitely was in search of the identity of the other part of his life.
Georgetown was known across college basketball as Big Man U. Patrick Ewing came out of there. Dikembe Mutombo came out of there. And now, Alonzo Mourning. 3 of the most dominant defensive centers in basketball history, all from the same program. At Georgetown, shot blocking becomes personal for Zoe. Defense becomes punishment. Every rebound looks violent. Every block comes with emotion. Every scream feels real, because for Zoe, it is real.
Such an intimidating force in blocking shots.
By his senior year, he's averaging 21.7 points, 10.7 rebounds, and 5 blocks per game. He becomes only the second player in Georgetown history, after Patrick Ewing himself, to surpass 2,000 points and 1,000 rebounds. He's the Big East Defensive Player of the Year in 1989, 1990, and 1992. And here's the part that separates Alonzo Mourning from almost every elite player of his generation. He could have left after his freshman year. He was already good enough for the NBA, but he didn't leave because of one promise. He stayed all 4 years, graduated, and kept his promise to the woman who saved his life. 1992 NBA Draft. The first pick, a big fella out of LSU named Shaquille O'Neal. Second pick, Alonzo Mourning, Charlotte Hornets. And just like that, Zoe is in the league.
Second pick in the 1992 NBA Draft, the Charlotte Hornets select Alonzo Mourning from Georgetown University.
Charlotte in those years is electric, Del Curry, Larry Johnson, Muggsy Bogues. And now this ferocious, intense center who plays like every possession is a personal insult. Alonzo earns his reputation immediate. He is not just a shot blocker, he is a statement. Every block is a message. Every body dropped in the paint is a negotiation. You do not come in Zoe's lane. But just as Mourning was building one of the scariest defensive reputations in the NBA, a phone call was about to change everything. Pat Riley was on the other end, and he wasn't asking. 1995, Pat Riley has just taken over the Miami Heat, and his first major move? Trade for Alonzo Mourning.
Riley has always believed that the way you win in the NBA is to get a dominant big man. And so he looked around, and the first guy he went after was Alonzo Mourning.
Riley saw something in Mourning that went beyond skill. He saw a man who played basketball the same way Riley coached it, with absolute intensity, with accountability, with controlled aggression.
He was exactly what I thought he would be. He would be that face of our team.
Mourning, bang with a right hand. Nobody's stronger in South Beach than Alonzo.
What they built together became the foundation of something Miami still calls heat culture.
Our mission in Miami was that we wanted to become the hardest working, best conditioned, most professional, unselfish, toughest, most admired team in the NBA.
And the NBA was about to find out what that looked like. The NBA of the 1990s was brutal. No easy fouls, no soft defenses. Centers were treated like heavyweights in a boxing ring. This was the era of giants: Shaquille O'Neal, Hakeem Olajuwon, Patrick Ewing, David Robinson, and somehow Alonzo Mourning became one of the fiercest of them all. He wins back-to-back Defensive Player of the Year awards, 1999 and 2000. 7 All-Star selections, first-team All-NBA, gold medals with Team USA at the 1994 World Championships and the 2000 Olympics in Sydney. At his peak, Alonzo Mourning is one of the 5 best players on the planet.
Mourning! Bang with a right hand! Nobody's stronger in South Beach than Alonzo!
And nowhere was that more obvious than against the New York Knicks. Heat versus Knicks wasn't basketball, it was hatred. Every playoff series felt like survival. Bodies flying, benches clearing, blood rivalries. And in the middle of all of it was Alonzo Mourning. Now, I need you to lock in for this next part, because while all of this is happening, while Zoe is at the absolute top of his game, something is going wrong inside his body. Something invisible, something that no amount of will, intensity, or toughness could block. Stay with me. Summer 2000. Alonzo Mourning is in Sydney, Australia, wearing the red, white, and blue, competing for Team USA at the Olympics. But he's not just flying to Sydney. He's flying back and forth because he promised his wife, Tracy, he'd be home for the birth of their daughter. And on one of those long flights, he looks down at his legs. Something is wrong. After the Olympics, a routine physical shows abnormalities. The tests come back, and the diagnosis changes everything. Focal segmental glomerulosclerosis, FSGS, a rare genetic kidney disease. No FDA-approved cure, no roadmap back.
I said, "Doc, am I gonna die?" He paused. He took too long to answer me. And he said, "We have no known cure. We can treat it." Or ultimately, he said, in about 10 to 12 months, you're going to probably be on dialysis.
Sit with that. One day, he's dominating the NBA. The next, a doctor can't answer whether he's going to survive.
Tough blow for me personally because of my affection for Zoe and for the organization. It's the first time that the season in basketball didn't mean that much to me during that year with what he was going through.
He tries to fight through it. He plays 13 games in 2001, comes back and plays 75 games in 2002, makes the All-Star team. But the disease keeps fighting back. By 2003, he can't play at all. He sits out the entire season. Then he signs with the New Jersey Nets. Tries to return again, plays 12 games, and then, November 24th, 2003, Alonzo Mourning calls his teammate Jason Kidd.
Basketball-wise, I was hurt in that sense, but then I was also scared, in the sense of, how serious is the kidney disease, in the sense of how fast will you need a transplant, what's the timeline? And so, life, it was kind of went from basketball to now, living, and it puts everything in perspective.
Alonzo retires, not because he wants to, because his kidneys are failing, because continuing to play could kill him. He needs a transplant, and no match has been found.
My doctors made me aware that it was time for me to step away from the game and start the process of identifying, who was going to be my kidney donor.
Think about where Alonzo Mourning is at this moment. Grew up with no family to fall back on, built everything from nothing, climbed to the absolute top of his sport, and now he's sitting in a hospital, waiting for a phone call, wondering if this is where the story ends. And then the phone rings. His cousin, Jason Cooper, a former Marine Zoe hadn't seen since childhood. Jason Cooper had heard about the diagnosis, and without hesitation, he stepped forward.
I hadn't seen Jason in over 20-some-odd years when we were babies. And then out of all the people that came in to get tested, the doctors chose Jason.
On December 19th, 2003, Jason Cooper, a man who knew that donating his kidney meant he could never re-enlist in the Marines, lay down on an operating table and gave his left kidney to his cousin, a soldier, twice over.
2 minutes, 30 seconds. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, 67, 68, 69, 70, 71, 72, 73, 74, 75, 76, 77, 78, 79, 80, 81, 82, 83, 84, 85, 86, 87, 88, 89, 90, 91, 92, 93, 94, 95, 96, 97, 98, 99, 100, 101, 102, 103, 104, 105, 106, 107, 108, 109, 110, 111,
just so you understand the full weight of this, while Jason Cooper was being tested as a potential donor, hundreds of people had come forward from around the country to offer their kidneys to Zoe. One of them was Patrick Ewing, his idol, the man whose poster hung on his wall at Mrs. Threet's house. Ewing offered his own kidney. That is the kind of man Zoe had become, the kind that people are willing to sacrifice themselves for. But even with the transplant, the question everyone had was whether any of this still mattered, whether Alonzo Mourning could ever play again, whether he even wanted to. Most people in that position would have made peace with it. Alonzo Mourning is not most people. The transplant saves his life, but saving his life and returning to the NBA are two completely different things. Every doctor in that room knows that. Most of them believe it can't be done. Zoe doesn't care what they believe.
What made me come back to basketball, I felt like I had some unfinished business. I still had like a little fire burning inside me.
He rebuilds, slowly, painfully, anti-rejection medication every day, constant monitoring, a body that had been one of the most dominant machines in professional sports, now held together by his cousin's kidney and sheer will. He signs back with the Miami Heat in 2005, not as a star, not as a franchise player, as a backup, behind Shaquille O'Neal. And not once does he complain.
He wanted to play, and he worked tirelessly to get back. And at the time, he had to take care of himself. We had to be very conscious of Zoe, when he was performing. But Zoe's different. His constitution is different. His spirit, his heart, everything is different.
June 2006, Miami Heat versus the Dallas Mavericks. NBA Finals. Dallas takes a 2-0 series lead. The Heat look done. They win 4 straight. Game 6, June 20th, 2006. American Airlines Arena is shaking. Alonzo Mourning checks in. He plays 14 minutes, 8 points, 6 rebounds, 5 blocks. When the buzzer sounds, Alonzo Mourning, the boy from the foster home, the man who promised his mother he'd graduate, the player who played through kidney disease, who retired, who came back, who was alive because of a stranger's kidney, falls to his knees and weeps.
Being uncomfortable at times are things you have to get used to. Fighting through all of these things, it was normal for Zoe. We would not have won the championship in 2006 had he not been on the team.
Now, I want to tell you something. That championship moment right there, that's where most documentaries end. The comeback, the ring, fade to black. But Alonzo Mourning's story, the real story, it doesn't end in 2006. Because what he built after the game, that's the part that tells you who he actually is.
I have to say, of all the things that Alonzo has said, the thing that impressed me turns to me and says, "Doc, how can I help people with my disease?"
I was involved in genetic testing through a conversation with my doctor.
He's touched a lot of lives since getting a second chance at life. He went beyond himself and he thought about the community at large. What will happen to the community if I'm not there? To be a part of that, to see that, is definitely rewarding in and of itself.
2009, the Miami Heat retire number 33, first jersey in franchise history ever to go to the rafters. Not Riley's staff, not any player before him. Zoe. 2014, Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame. During his induction speech, Mourning thanks his coaches, his teammates, his wife Tracy, and then he turns to the two people the world doesn't know about. A retired school teacher named Fannie Threet, who passed away the year before at 98 years old and listed Alonzo Mourning as one of her children in her obituary, and a former Marine named Jason Cooper sitting right there in that audience, who gave up part of himself so his cousin could live.
This is not my day. This is Mrs. Fannie Threet's day. This is Coach Thompson's day. This is my entire family and friends who has contributed to this particular moment.
That tells you everything. When the moment came to stand in the most celebrated room in basketball history, Zoe used it to say thank you to the people nobody else was talking about. But the cameras don't always show what he's been quietly building for decades. In 1997, while still an active player, he and Tracy founded the Mourning Family Foundation. In 2003, the same year he was fighting for his life in a hospital, they opened the Overtown Youth Center. in one of Miami's most underserved communities. A full-service facility providing academic support, mentorship, and real opportunity to kids who look exactly like the boy Zoe used to be. In 2009, a Miami high school was named after him and Tracy. The Mourning Family Foundation has raised over $50 million for kids. He's led campaigns for kidney disease research and organ donor awareness because he knows better than anyone that a donated organ is the difference between life and death. And just when you thought the fighting was done, just when it seemed like Alonzo Mourning had finally crossed to the other side of all of it, the body came for him again. 2024, Mourning is 54 years old, Vice President of Player Programs for the Miami Heat, in the best shape of his life, feeling strong, no symptoms, no warning signs, a routine checkup, a PSA blood test. The numbers are creeping up. His doctor orders an MRI. The MRI shows shadows. A biopsy follows. February 23, 2024. Stage 3 prostate cancer.
When the doctor told you that word, cancer, what was your reaction?
Hey, listen, deflated. I was like, me? Are you kidding me? I feel great.
Think about what it takes to hear that word, cancer. For a man who has already buried a kidney disease, who has already come back from retirement, who has already stood on a championship court weeping, to sit in a doctor's office and hear it start all over again. In March 2024, Mourning undergoes surgery to have his prostate removed. The cancer had not spread. It stayed in its capsule. And Alonzo Mourning, for the second time in his life, walks out of a hospital having beaten something that kills men every single day.
I want to get rid of the narrative that men don't go to the doctor. You know, I want to create some momentum behind men taking charge of their health.
And what does Zoe do the moment he's cleared? The exact same thing he did after the kidney transplant. He turns around and tries to help someone else. Today, Alonzo Mourning is cancer-free, still showing up every day for the Miami Heat, still mentoring the next generation, still fighting, still giving, still standing.
And I have the power now to share my story, and I hope that all men take this approach and get a regular checkup.
Now, here's what I need you to sit with, because I want to connect something for you, something that I don't think anyone has put together out loud yet. At the start of this video, I told you Alonzo Mourning's body started shutting down at the exact moment he became one of the best players in the world. And I told you that by the time that happened, his entire life had already prepared him for war. Here's what I meant by that. When Zoe was 11 years old and chose a foster home over tearing his family apart, he was already learning something most people never learn, that some things are bigger than you. That sometimes the brave move isn't fighting for yourself, it's protecting someone else. Fannie Threet taught him that giving is not a transaction, it is a way of being. Jason Cooper showed him that sacrifice, real sacrifice, costs you something, and you do it anyway. The kidney disease showed him that your body can be taken, but your fight cannot. And the prostate cancer, stage 3, showing up when he felt better than ever, that was just one more reminder that the battle never truly ends. You just keep choosing to show up for it. That sentence right there is the whole story of Alonzo Mourning. Every single time life knocked him down, he got up and asked the same question: how do I use this to help somebody else? Foster care became a foundation for at-risk youth. Kidney disease became organ donor advocacy that has saved lives. Prostate cancer became a campaign for men who would have never gone to get checked. Some players are remembered because they were talented. Alonzo Mourning is remembered because he survived everything that tried to break him and then handed the blueprint to everyone behind him. It started with a woman named Fannie Threet, who opened a door for a lost 11-year-old boy and told him her home was now his home. That boy grew up and spent the rest of his life opening doors. If this video hit for you, you already know what Crossover Fadeaway is about. We don't do surface level takes here. We go deep. We find the stories that the highlight reels skip. If Alonzo's story moved you, hit that like button. It genuinely helps more people find videos like this one. And subscribe if you're not already rolling with us. because we've got more deep dives, more forgotten legends, more real stories coming. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time.